SMU last time out falling at the hands of Oral Roberts, or rather tying in that one, 1-1. And it was one where Kevin Hudson's team almost felt like a loss because they did not feel they played up to their capability in a couple key areas. Didn't feel like they tackled very well, didn't compete for the ball very well either, but that is something that Kevin Hudson and the coaching staff has really stressed during training over the course of this week.
Absolutely, and with all due respect to Oral Roberts, the level of competition is up tonight. The Billikens are big, they're fast, they're incredibly athletic, and if the Mustangs don't win more 50-50 balls and tackle more effectively, it could be a long night. So to your point, absolutely, it has been a huge point of focus for the Mustang coaches as they have prepared their team for tonight's game.
Abenel, who made 3 saves, including one on a penalty, and really a double save against IU last time out. A really great shot stopper, a composed player in really good form at the beginning of this season, and he's a different keeper than SMU saw in their win over St. Louis here in Dallas last year.
Right, so when they played last year, Mason Hart was in goal for the Billikens, and also a very talented goalkeeper. But it's not like the Billikens are throwing a new kid into the lineup tonight who's still sort of getting his feet wet. Abenel has played a lot. He's very experienced, and to your point, great shot blocker, exceedingly quick and athletic. Just a very, very talented goalkeeper, and he's playing behind a really solid defense as well. So he gives the Billikens a chance every single night.
Yeah, going back to last year, he's only lost once. As SMU gets forward, Danny Escorcia plays it out wide, trying to get it to Pino and testing Leatherman, but Leatherman catches up with it. That is a super quick matchup on that far side of the field. Leatherman, who goes at 5'5". Meanwhile, Kieran Pino, one of the flyers in the ACC.
He is, and Leatherman's going to be as fast as anyone that SMU will see all year. It'll be very tough to sort of sneak those passes out of Leatherman's reach. You can go over the top, you can go around him, but to try to simply roll the ball past him is awfully difficult because he can fly.
SMU called for a foul. For St. Louis, their goals on night number 1 came from Matthew Roble. Roble getting the game winner, and also they were able to get a goal from one of their other top players as well in that matchup, and going up against Indiana that night as they went into their bench to pick up the other tally. And Roble scoring that goal, the game winner off an assist by Luis Lada, who really created that play for St. Louis in that victory. It was Roble's 15th goal of his career. It ended up being the game winner in the victory over the Hoosiers to open up the season. And it was in front of 6,000 people in St. Louis as well. Really getting that great soccer community around SLU ready for this year. Not much of a better way you can start a season.
Right, and St. Louis always draws well. The city is just an outstanding soccer city. They turn out for the Billikens, but 6,000 was an enormous crowd. And Kevin Kalish didn't hide from the fact that his team really got a boost from the crowd that was there to support their team against the Hoosiers.
Niko Djordjevic for SMU turning back. He's back this season after missing basically all of last year, that outside back position. And Djordjevic has been good early this year. Meanwhile, the 3 across the back for SMU, Ruvalcaba in the middle, Brock Pope and Owen Zarnik around them are new starters this year, and only Zarnik was on this team a season ago. SMU is having to really replace a lot of their base defense this season. They've only given up 1 goal through 2 games.
Zarnik was a reserve last year, but 2 years ago he played a lot as a freshman. So he's not brand new. He handled the numbers crunch as well as you can last year when he had to wait his turn behind guys like Mads Westergren and Oliver Hald and people like that. And he learned from it. And there were times when the Mustangs were nursing a 1-goal lead and he would come in as a 5th defender, adding a big, strong body in the back, but didn't play a whole lot. And he has emerged this year and had a terrific spring. The coaches were very, very impressed by the work that he did in the offseason, and he's had a great start to the season this year.
By the way, that other goal for St. Louis ended up being an own goal against Indiana, but it was a very competitive play. I watched it back, and certainly you could have given the Billikens the credit for being in the box and creating a play that ended up in the back of the net. It was a ball that was flicked on, and then on an attempted clearance from deep inside the 6, it did go inside the goal. So that was the 2-0 result for St. Louis at home against Indiana, and that vaulted them all the way up to number 6 in the top 25 rankings. And both of the teams that SMU sees this weekend, St. Louis and then Denver on Sunday, have moved into the top 10 this week. So all of a sudden, a tough schedule for SMU as they move into the ACC has seemingly gotten tougher.
Yeah, we talked in the pregame show about how St. Louis has started with a tough pair of games with Indiana and SMU, and certainly the Billikens did their part in the first game, knocking off the Hoosiers. Well, now SMU's in a very similar position. If SMU can come out with a win, or better yet, 2 wins this weekend, that tie against Oral Roberts is forgotten. If you can get a good result against 2 top 10 teams, that would be a huge foundation for what is going to be an absolutely brutal schedule when the ACC games arrive.
That's a really nice block of that shot by Matthew Roble, and turning it out is Cesar Rubalcaba, who transferred in from Cal Poly Pomona. And if you haven't heard of Pomona, or you're not very familiar, we understand, we forgive you, a D2 school out of Cali, but he was a 2-time Division II All-American at that level and has proven to be up to the task early on as the center back, at mid-center back spot for SMU.
Yeah, he's been a wonderful addition for Kevin Hudson's staff and became a captain right off the bat. He is just so steady and such a stabilizing force in the middle of the back. He organizes the back line with Brock Pope on his left and Owen Zarnick on the right. And, you know, you mentioned how much talent they've been replacing on the back line. Well, don't forget, they're also replacing the American Athletic Conference Goalkeeper of the Year in Cole Johnson, and the Defender of the Year in Mads Westergren. So it's an entirely new back end for SMU this year.
And SMU trying to figure out how to score goals as well. 2 goals so far, 1 in the run of play. Milton Lopez scoring that equalizer against ORU. This one slotted inside, and Luis Lara just could not get it on that left foot, trying to twist it through, and it's quickly steered into clearance by Bailey Sparks.
Yeah, and Bailey Sparks is basically running back at his own goalkeeper as fast as he can, and he sees the yellow jersey coming, but he also knows he's got a Billiken on his back and probably wasn't exactly sure which way the pressure was coming behind him, so he did the wise thing and just got it out of danger.
Back to live action. Foul against St. Louis will give SMU the chance to punt it away. Chance Johnson starting in goal the first 3 games for SMU. Had a shutout in the opener, the 1-0 win, taking down Air Force. Giving up a tough goal against ORU. Talking to Kevin Hudson before the game. One they hoped Johnson would have stopped on a cross, but I did think it was a really cleanly played, or a really pretty play on that looping cross by Oral Roberts to get a chance at the goal. And, you know, as Johnson gets more time at this level, he'll make those plays at 6'4".
He will. He's, as you said, he's 6'4". He's got long arms. He's a very good jumper. I mean, he can get way over the crossbar if he needs to. And you're right, it was an awkward play where the pass came in from the side right in front of the visiting bench, and it was so high and such a vertical pass that it basically dropped straight down out of the sky over Johnson, whose reach is lengthy. So you're right, he didn't handle it perfectly. They got on the end of it and headed it in for the equalizing goal. But as you said, he'll get better, he'll get more comfortable, and he and the defense in front of him will get more chemistry as they play more minutes and more games together.
St. Louis team very good in the air, very tall, but SMU wins one. And here's Jalen Mitchell in the middle trying to feed it out to the left to the onrushing Pino, and it never gets there because of another nice play by Carlos Leatherman, who was an A10 All-Rookie member last season, played all 90 minutes in the win over IU last time out. Little possession here for St. Louis. And on the left side, Lawson Redmond, the senior from Edwardsville High School. And he was a 3-year player at Indiana, wearing number 22, right alongside Joey Mayer. And now they have rejoined each other here in St. Louis.
You know, a lot of times when you think of the top defenders out there, you think of big, strong guys who can go up in the air and who can muscle opponents around a little bit, and that's not what Leatherman is. But he's so absurdly quick that he is able to be in the right position, and he simply gets there more quickly than his opponent the vast majority of the time.
So yeah, number 2 in white, one you can't miss. And then you got Redmond right here, starting his 24th career match. Started 15 of the 16 he played last season for St. Louis. Lara trying to get onto one at the edge of the box. Djordjevic takes it away, and he is hunted down from behind. And Draven Barnett, who has played SMU a time or two in his career, takes down Djordjevic on the foul called on the tackle here.
Yeah, you see Barnett chased down from behind and avoided a yellow card, or the potential for a yellow card, because he did get the ball first, but then his leg stayed in there and he ended up taking down Djordjevic. So good job by the official. Yes, it was a whistle. A whistle was deserved, but not a card.
Late start here in Dallas. The third of 4 doubleheaders that the men and women have played here in Dallas, as both teams have had a very heavy home schedule to start the regular season. Some good crowds coming out, and they're only going to get better as these teams make their way into ACC play, which is coming up later in September. SMU making the leap to the ACC back in July, and the soccer teams, the first ones to get on the pitch into some competition for SMU. And now volleyball joining as of tomorrow, and the football team joined as of last Friday, or last Saturday, I should say. Half clearance there by Zarnik, and it's eventually headed in to Chance Johnson, who's able to cradle it.
Yeah, the offside flag went up, but it was waved off as the ball got into Chance Johnson. And every explanation that you need about what's happening by going into the ACC for soccer teams can be wrapped up in this. SMU was predicted, it's 2 different voting bodies. The ACC coaches voted SMU 8th in the conference preseason. The United Soccer coaches voted the Mustangs 10th in the country.
Right.
The national rankings are just filled with ACC teams, and it is an absolute gauntlet. Once that conference portion of the season starts, it is a tough opponent every single time out.
Leatherman goes down, no foul given. Mitchell has it in the middle, wings it out wide, and cutting in, a little chip by Pino, headed in the air. Mitchell is able to drive it toward the goal. Now here's Pino on the right foot, a deflected ball, and it ends up wide. A race to the corner and a throw-in for St. Louis as we look at this chance again.
Nice cross here by Kieran Pino. It gets flicked on by a defender, but it ends up with Jalen Mitchell, who settles it with one touch and then gets a left-footed shot away. It's turned away, but the rebound goes back to Pino, and if he were right-footed, that might have found the back of the net. But he is left-footed, and he got a shot away, but didn't really get all of it.
Djordjevic wins the entry pass, takes it to the corner, centers one in front. Abenel able to scoop it up. Abenel listed at 6 feet tall, the Frenchman. Started his career at an NAIA school in Oklahoma, Mid-America Christian, where he was an All-American. Long ball, and Johnson wins this as Matthew Roble was advancing. And Johnson wins the race. Speaking of guys from the Oklahoma City area.
And we talk about Chance Johnson and how he will improve with more time, more experience, more games. But the physical tools are there, and we can talk all day about his height and his reach and his jumping ability, and those are all important. But we also just saw how quick he is. He can come off his line in a heartbeat. and snag that ball away as he did in front of Roble, who was coming 100 miles an hour.
He's one of those toolsy guys, like they talk about, because he's got the frame and he's got the ability, as you mentioned.
Right, and he's got a cannon of a leg. He can hit goal kicks well beyond midfield.
Top Drawer Soccer only had him as a 2-star recruit coming out of Mustang High School and coming out of Tulsa SC. However, you know, SMU would have not brought him in if they did not think he had the potential to turn into a #1 keeper down the line.
Right, and SMU has a rich history of finding goalkeepers who are not always heavily recruited and turning them into absolutely outstanding keepers. And, you know, you think of Cole Johnson, you think a few years ago of Michael Nelson, who was absolutely brilliant.
Space for Georgievich. Bailey Sparks trying to wing one in. Now Mitchell has it, redirected right back at Pino, who skies one high.
Pino wants that one back. He reached out with his right foot and pulled it over to his left dominant foot and then just floated it up and over. But you see Georgievich's initial shot deflected. Bailey Sparks didn't quite get all of it. Jalen Mitchell gets it turned away, and there's Pino. And normally, Pino is so precise with his shots. Normally, from that range, you got to think that's going to either get stopped by the goalkeeper or find the back of the net. He would love to have that one back.
Some possession and pressure early for SMU. What have been your thoughts about SMU's early form 16 minutes in?
I think they have to be very pleased with themselves so far. They're playing sort of a pretty compact defensive structure at the moment. I think having Kieran Pino back in the lineup is an enormous addition, if only because, I mean, he hasn't done a whole lot yet, but his mere presence demands attention from opponents. And Bailey Sparks, Jalen Mitchell, Danny Escorcia have really applied some pressure in the offensive third for SMU.
One of the cooler nights of the year, only 83 degrees as we get started. Escorcia taking a look at the goal. Great distributor, trying to get it down to Lopez. No foul given. Escorcia to Pino. The 1-2 back in the direction of Escorcia, and it drifts past him.
Really nice defensive play there by Thiago Lopez, who ran inside, ran shoulder to shoulder with Escorcia and simply leaned a shoulder into him, letting the ball go out of bounds. He didn't have to play the ball. He didn't have to foul Escorcia. He was big enough and strong enough that he could just hold him off, get the goal kick for the Billikens.
Thiago Lopez, known as a no-nonsense midfielder with the ball-winning ability. And just by shouldering off Escorcia, he wins the ball there for number 6, St. Louis. And the Billikens coming off that early season statement. Big win over Indiana. SMU 1-1 early on the year. They started the year ranked 10th, but after their draw against ORU, fell out of the top 25. Lots of contact. And Pope gets the advantage of the call here. And the senior says, yeah, that was the right one.
Of course. Both teams came up looking for a whistle. As you see the beautiful long pass, chested down, Pope steps in front. And the Billikens are saying that Pope was the last one to touch it before it went out of bounds.
And after all that, St. Louis will get a free kick thanks to an SMU foul in this area of the field.
You mentioned how it's cooled off just a tiny bit, and now the audience watching at home might be able to hear the wind on our microphones as the breeze has really picked up.
Officially coming out of the southeast, or the top right corner of your screen, basically, at 10 to 15. However, it seems to be gusting a little bit higher than that at this point. Standing over it, Brogan Townsend, the fourth-year senior out of St. Louis. He's on the right foot, strategizing with Lawson Redmond, who would be on the left foot. But it is going to be Seth Anderson playing it into the box, and a bouncer catches the wind and is guided out beyond the reach of Chance Johnson and company.
If that wind keeps coming out of the southeast like that, it'll be interesting to see if the Mustangs modify how they approach either free kicks or goal kicks out of their own end if they're driving it straight into that wind. And as soon as I say that, the wind seems to have died out for a moment.
20 minutes in. Exactly. We will see how long the wind sticks around, how much it plays a factor tonight. It stuck around on Sunday here in Dallas right till the end of the game, a game that ended after 11 o'clock Central Time. Escorcia in the midfield. Decides to go vertical out to Mitchell, who wings it wide. Djordjevic ready to take on a defender. Djordjevic advancing onto the right foot. Djordjevic, that extra touch, pops it to the backside. Pino, the one touch. It is headed back out. And a throw in for SMU.
That is so hard. What Pino just did there is so hard. The cross comes across over the top of the goal, and Pino's going as fast as he can and has to float in the air and not only make contact but knock it back into the field of play. Djordjevic is almost on the line, and then Pino just volleys it out of midair. I guess he had slowed down just a hair before he hit it, but still very difficult play that he made look very easy.
Floriani had the clearing header. And the throw in from the side. Jalen Mitchell able to track it down for SMU. Last touched by the Billikens. Throw in for the Mustangs. And there is Draven Barnett.
Yeah, and Barnett was a little disappointed with the call. He thought the ball played off of Mitchell.
And instead of that, it's actually going to be a foul on the play.
Right, and then he realized it was a foul and the whistle was being blown at him, and he certainly didn't agree with that.
So Bailey Sparks and Kieran Pino are the options on the restart. Angled out to the left of the keeper. Sparks feeds it in. Curling ball. Header down. A redirect by Zarnik. Kept alive. And now Ruvalcaba trying to center it. Not high in the air. Ball won by Pope. Pope leaning in. And this is popped over the goal and out of play for a corner kick for SMU.
Zarnik wanted a handball on his shot where he blasted it into a defender from basically point-blank range. But on that restart, we saw part of the benefit of having Kieran Pino back in the lineup, because now you have Pino and Bailey, one left-footed, one right-footed, and both elite servers of the ball, which gives the defense, the opponent, a lot more to worry about, because both of them can put the ball in a lot of different places very, very accurately.
Sparks is the marks person here. The win behind him. Clean header into the air. Second ball is won by the Billikens. Mitchell trying to come in and win it, and he does. Nothing but white shirts around him. Throw in for SMU, however, as it's unable to be contained along the edge by Lotta.
We have seen on a couple of these restarts the strength of that St. Louis defense in the middle with Joey Mayer and Max Floriani. Both big, strong guys. Both can really get off the ground. They are exceptional in the air and clog up an awful lot of attacks through the air by the St. Louis opponents.
Djordjevic trying to march through defenders. And this time, Mayer takes it away. However, SMU winning a ball, and Escorcia stopping on it. The 5-5 transfer, trying to find Mitchell. It's picked cleanly, at least for a moment, but finds Mitchell again in the midfield. Sparks with one touch in the direction of no one in particular. And this time, it is taken out to midfield by Thiago Lopez.
Mayer is such a great addition to the St. Louis defense, partly because, as Kevin Kalish said, he thought Mayer was the best center back in the country last year. But he's also a local guy. He's from about 15 minutes away from the St. Louis campus. So he could have gone on to play professionally. He could have stayed at Indiana. But he chose to come home and play for his hometown team, and has been every bit as good as advertised, according to Kevin Kalish.
Played in 2 college cups at Indiana. This one is left behind Lopez, and it gives Bailey Sparks a chance to break out. But before that happens, Carlos Leatherman makes another quick swipe to let the defense recollect.
We're 25 minutes in, and we have said Carlos Leatherman's name a lot tonight. He has been very visible and very effective for the St. Louis defense.
stoppage here in Dallas for the first substitutions for either side. And on the Billikens side, it's Greg Fournier, a freshman from Leander here in Texas, Central Texas, about 3 hours south of us, coming in for Lopez. And also one other into the matchup. That is Grady Easton, the former SMU Mustang. Easton played center back position while he was at SMU, and also earlier in his career at St. Louis, he has transferred his game into more of a holding mid spot at this point of his career for the Billikens.
And Grady Easton may have had more emotion the last time he played against SMU, but he's been at St. Louis long enough that I don't know if he would say this is just another game. I mean, he did originally commit to SMU and played a year in Dallas, but he certainly has ties to this school, and he would like nothing better than to help the Billikens come out of Dallas with a victory tonight.
Billikens lost here last year by a 1-0 score. Dangerous ball, but it is cleared away by SMU. It's a fairly tight series overall, and almost 40 matchups over the years between these two, but recently SMU has had the better run in the series as Lopez wins one. He's got the run of play goal this year for SMU, attracting all kind of attention and trying to earn a corner. Did he do it? And he did. Good work by Lopez.
And I will use the same thing that I probably said last year when these teams met, which was ended in a 1-0 victory for SMU. You've got to think maybe the most interested person in this game is Kevin Hudson's father. He played for the Billikens, and now his son is the head coach of the Mustangs. I've asked Coach Hudson about this in the past, and he will just put a big smile on his face, and he will say, hey, my dad loves St. Louis. That is home. That's where he went to school. But blood is thicker than school. His family is more important than his school. So pretty sure Father Hudson, Dad is rooting for his son in this one.
Blood is running red rather than blue right now.
Exactly.
Sparks sends it to the top of the 6, and this is a foul called against SMU. And on a warm night, but not nearly as hot as it has been over the course of the summer, we are going to take a hydration break here in Dallas. So far, SMU with the better run of play, but no score between SMU and the number 6 Billikens in Dallas.
Greatness is a feeling, a moment, a choice, unrelenting, a team effort. Greatness is accomplishing on this field and this one. Greatness is more than winning the game. It's changing it. Greatness is what we do. Accomplish greatness.
With fast and fair claims handling and 24/7 help, you get more with Geico. Just like my family gets way more in a soccer chance than the average fan.
Ole, 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 ole.
However you fan, get more with Geico.
Back with Steve Lansdale, I'm John Little, and there is Kevin Hudson, the head coach of the SMU Mustangs, with SMU and St. Louis scoreless. 18 minutes left in the first half. Kevin Hudson growing up in the St. Louis area, but then playing his college ball here at SMU from 2000 to 2003, and he just hasn't left. Stuck around ever since.
Yeah, he went into the private business world for a couple of years and then got back into coaching. It's what he loves to do, and when he played at SMU, his coach at the time, Shellis Heineman, would always talk about him, and the description started with how smart Kevin Hudson was. And even when he was in his first couple of years, his coach described him as sort of a coach on the field. Well, he followed a nice career path for that.
Exactly right. Tell it is a humid night in Dallas, a little bit warm. Two quality teams battling here.
Two quality teams and two of the best coaches in America.
Kevin Kalish, the head coach at St. Louis, two-time A-10 Coach of the Year. Now in his 7th year with St. Louis. Really nice winning percentage, 62 wins in his 6+ years at SMU. And SMU is actually the Billikens' 3rd most common opponent, trailing only Indiana, who they've obviously played already this season, and SIUE. SMU leads the all-time series over SLU, 17-14-7. And SMU has not lost a match in the last 7 against St. Louis.
There was a time when this game was on the schedule every single year, no matter what conference either team played in or when either of them was an independent. SMU and St. Louis were always on the schedule, and they have had some absolutely incredible battles over the years, including in the NCAA tournament.
And especially in a sport where in the middle of the country, the teams can be fairly spread out. It's not like you have a ton of men's soccer teams all over the middle of the country. It's mainly on the East Coast. Why wouldn't this be? Thanks to that short flight you can take, a yearly battle between the two.
Exactly. I mean, for a long time, SMU was the only Division I program in the state of Texas. And St. Louis dominated the Midwest section of St. Louis, Kansas City, that area. They were the two heavyweights in this part of the country for a long, long time. And both teams had coaches who believed in playing the best to get ready to stake your claim in the postseason.
St. Louis certainly believes that. Starting out with a number 7 Indiana team, beating them 2-0. And then coming here to SMU, a team that coming into the year was ranked number 10 as well. Coming up on the schedule on Monday, Labor Day, take on IU Indianapolis, and then aforementioned SIUE. Going to Portland, it's always a good soccer school. And then hosting Lipscomb before going into A-10 play. A couple more non-conference games coming up later this season. Include a matchup with Charlotte and also taking on Missouri State and Blackburn. And this contact is going to go against SMU. The first really great chance here for St. Louis, and not what you want to see one of your players holding their hand, especially a talented player like Seth Anderson.
Seth Anderson is critically important to what the Billikens want to do. And
stepped on.
That hand or wrist is really hurting. Anytime you have to get a teammate to tie your shoe for you, that's got to be a little concerning. And obviously for the Billikens, you certainly hope that Seth Anderson's going to be okay, whether they wrap it up or put a little ice on it or whatever they need to do.
Anderson playing in his 60th match, 40th start all-time for the attacking midfielder, who has 6 career goals and 11 assists. In all of his matches played with St. Louis in this era of the transfer. He has been very loyal to the St. Louis area.
And he's still looking at that right hand, that right wrist, whatever it is that's bothering him.
Now we get a great look at the placement of this free kick. Anderson chips it toward the back post. It is headed out, and an aggressive try by Draven Barnett, who goes over the back of Danny Escorcia to pick up the foul.
Aggressive seems to be the way to describe most things that Draven Barnett does.
Barnett, a one-of-a-kind athletic player who can play almost anywhere on the field for Kevin Kalish. He was a center back the last 2 seasons in Philadelphia at Temple, and that's where SMU has seen him as a part of AAC play. But now Barnett stepping into the fray in St. Louis and going up a couple levels. He's now an attacking midfielder for the Billikens instead of a center back.
Yeah, his versatility is remarkable. And you're right, it starts with that athleticism. And he can do so many different things. And you don't often think of, players coming from Temple to St. Louis. You may think they'd have to wait their turn or be part of a rotation, but he's been in the starting lineup from day one, and deservedly so. He's a terrific player.
That was an aggressive challenge by Grady Easton trying to win the ball, but he picks up a foul in the process. And so Easton, the former SMU Mustang, gives it back to SMU. Easton, by the way, missed all of last year after the SMU match. That was the 4th match of the season for St. Louis last year. Easton played in that one plus the other 3. And after that, missed the rest of the year, had to have surgery on both knees. Here goes Djordjevic right through the middle, tripped up from behind by Easton. And here comes a card. A
3
yellow.
Mustangs taken down on that play. Bailey Sparks, Richard Garcia, and eventually Nico Djordjevic. And if you're Kevin Hudson, you got to hold your breath a little bit when you see Nico Djordjevic go down, because he missed, as you said, virtually the entire season last year. And you see Joey Mayer looking in to see if Djordjevic is okay, and a bunch of the Mustangs telling Mayer, get out of here, this is our team, not yours.
Djordjevic very slow to get up as you see Easton picking up the card. Easton and Djordjevic were not teammates here at SMU. Easton transferring out after the 21 season, or at least not teammates on the field.
And just a moment before, he took down Danny Escorcia, also not a former teammate. But hey, Grady Easton is a big, strong man. And when there's contact.
And there's going to be a review here. I wonder if there could be a possible upgrade. I think Kevin Hudson was maybe on a takedown from behind, perhaps seeing this as closer to a red hue of a card rather than a yellow.
Maybe, and we saw that in the women's game prior to this game when a player took down Eliana Salama for the Mustangs. It wasn't a particularly hard foul, but it was from behind and led to an ejection. And now you see the two benches sort of getting into it with each other.
So we'll have some video-assisted review here in Dallas. And we'll try to get confirmation as to exactly what is being examined. But as of now, the takedown, the foul just outside the 18. It was certainly outside the 18. I don't think they're taking a look to see whether or not this should be a penalty. However, could it be a possible upgrade? Let's look.
Possibly. You see Easton come in from the side, and he did wind up and swing, and he got Djordjevic's leg. And his foot, Djordjevic's foot, when Easton made contact, was probably a few feet behind the ball. I don't know that it'll be upgraded. I can see how you would raise the idea and the suggestion. I mean, Grady Easton certainly does not have the reputation of being a dirty player in any way. He generally he plays the game the right way. He's a smart player. But again, he's a big, strong guy. So when there is contact, it's not unlikely that somebody's going to fall. And there you see a nice close-up shot by the ACC network cameras. A little shot to the outside of Djordjevic's right ankle.
Ooh.
And, we're 4 games into the season or 3 games into the season, and Djordjevic has spent a lot of time on the ground in the first couple of games. He holds the ball so well. He's so good in possession that, unfortunately, the byproduct of that is you get hit. And the SMU coaches have to hold their breath when they see it, when they see him on the ground.
And after review, does not appear that there is any kind of upgrade on the way. Remain a yellow. Restart for SMU. So trying to make sure of where the spot of the free kick should be. And SMU is guided back a little bit, as Grady Easton's back will be to this play. Kieran Pino, after missing the first 2 matches, placing it where he wants. Certainly seemed to think that he would be the guy, but Bailey Sparks could do it as well, as they both take an approach. Key moment with 13:20 left in the opening half and no score. On the restart, it is Pino. And he gets all of it and more.
He had a little bit of a hitch in his approach to that ball and just got too far under it and sent it sailing over the crossbar. But it was obviously well within his range. From that range, he and Bailey Sparks both are very, very dangerous options.
It's the kind of guy that when he strikes it right, or correctly, I should say, there can be that downward bend on the ball that helps it to find the frame.
Yeah, he can hook the ball up and over a wall as well as any college player I've ever seen. And so he'd love to have that one back, because that one he just got his 9-iron out and sent it flying.
The miss was by centimeters, but it was enough to send it way up and over the bar. Leatherman wins this one back, an awkward tackle against the side, and the advantage goes to SMU here on the touch across the line. As the Mustangs look for some more offense, and a foul on the Mustangs here with 12 minutes left in the opening half, and no score between SMU and the number 6 team in the country, St. Louis. Now SMU will dive into the bench. Niko Djordjevic, who has been able to run around a little bit after taking that awkward spill thanks to Easton. He is out. Lamar Bynum on for the first time. He was a starter last year for SMU at an outside back spot, and the senior from Albuquerque, New Mexico, comes in to play that right outside back position.
Bynum played a lot last year and was very, very capable. The transfer stepped into the starting lineup and held down that right outside spot for much of the year for the Mustangs. Not the flashiest player in the world, but just very, very steady. And when you play a team as dangerous as St. Louis, steady's a good thing.
Demon in at striker for SMU, and a quick turn. And from 17 yards out, Jeremy Abenel is equal to the test.
Yeah, nice shot by Demon, not because he got a whole lot of it, but just because he was hoping to catch Abenel sleeping. But like you said, Abenel was in the right spot and alert and swallowed it up quickly for the Billikens.
Demon started at the striker spot for the first 2 games. He and Milton Lopez splitting that job early this season, as SMU looks for players who can score during the run of play. Had a guy in Jeldrick Dahlman who was one of the leading scorers in the nation last year. And after Dahlman graduated, the Mustangs are left with some unproven pieces at that striker spot.
Yeah, they feel like there's talent there. It's just a matter of refining it and figuring out who does what the best, and then which situations they each fit into. I think Lopez and Demon will both play an awful lot this year for the Mustangs.
Some consistent possession now for St. Louis. It's been few and far between for the Billikens, as they try to play a little bit of SMU's game. SMU traditionally more of a possession-rich team. Kevin Hudson saying we're better when we have the ball. For St. Louis, a little bit more direct and athletic, and trying to advance the ball in those ways. That's exactly what they do here, Leatherman, to throw it in.
Yeah, the Billikens have some absolute thoroughbreds, and they have big, strong guys who will send passes through opposing defenses or up over the top and ask those guys to run onto the ball and make plays, and they've got the horses to do it.
Redmond distributes it out to the wing, and he ends up finding Jack Sullivan, but Demon takes it back for SMU, looking to start something before Lawson Redmond doubles back for the ball and is called for the foul.
Nice pressure by Demon, forcing the turnover.
SMU going with this 5-4-1 alignment this season, which they transitioned to about the middle of last year, if memory serves me right. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Worked out pretty well for him last season. Good opportunity for SMU. Stepping in, Kieran Pino slots it across, and there's just nobody home. He wants a player to join, but a little bit late getting there was Garcia. Here's a long ball up the field, and a chance for Heckenleibel going 1v1 against Easton, and the one-timer from the on-rushing Anderson is well wide.
It's wide because I think Brock Pope got a piece of it. They've awarded a corner kick to St. Louis. But terrific run by Heckenleibel, going side by side with Rubalcaba. Say that a few times quickly.
So Heckenleibel getting some of his first action this season. Slotting one across pretty nicely for Anderson. Results in the first corner for the Billikens. We'll try to get on the board first in Dallas. The strike. Good ball. Headed out, though. Rubalcaba, the last to touch it, after Jack Sullivan was the one to send it into the box.
And that is one of the things that the SMU coaches like so much about Rubalcaba in the middle of that back line. He's 6'2", he can really jump. He's very strong in the air.
Again, Jack Sullivan, the sophomore who didn't play on the opening night, gets another try. This time back post. And the quick header in is corralled easily as Joey Mayer taps a soft one toward Chance Johnson. And Tanner Anderson in the area as well.
Chance Johnson directing traffic. Now he's going to set the ball down, and we may get to see this big leg of his.
And even into the wind, that is a big leg. Played about 90 yards down the field almost. Here's Demon getting it to Bailey Sparks. Haven't heard much from Sparks in this one. And SMU resets. Trying to feed it around the outside. Bynum. Escorcia stops and starts. Escorcia churns up the area. Escorcia to the top of the 18. Plays it out wide. Here's Pino. Left-footed drive and a beautiful save made in the upper 90 by Abinell. That time Pino hit his mark.
Yeah, if he hit those two restarts like he hit that ball, we're looking at a 2-goal margin already. He crushed that shot, and terrific job by Abinell to get a hand on it and keep this game scoreless.
Pino, a lot of times, is a target in the box as well with his excellent athleticism.
As are all of the Mustangs starting defenders, Rubalcaba, Owen Zarnick, and Brock Pope.
Sparks, serve, loft under it. On the backside, Pope gets some of it. A second ball is won by the Billikens, at least for now, but SMU gets a chance, and cranking it up, Rubalcaba has it blocked. He sees Sparks out wide, finally able to feed it to him. Sparks looking in toward Demon, but dispossessed. And a throw in for St. Louis.
Great job by Jack Sullivan standing toe-to-toe with Sparks, and Sparks tried to really change pace as he went around that corner and tried to push it between a couple of St. Louis defenders, and Jack Sullivan held his ground and turned it away. Really steady marking by Sullivan.
St. Louis in their first road test after that victory over IU. It was a total group effort. Kevin Kalish said every guy did their job, executed their role. They fed off the energy of an enormous crowd of 6,000 at home. Beautiful way to start the season for St. Louis with that 2-0 victory. Here's a direct ball for SMU, but Leatherman can't win it. Instead, it's Pino trying to slot it through, and once again, a really good defensive play is made by St. Louis. And that back line of Mayer and Floriani doing a good job to be the last line of D.
And Mayer and Floriani are such a strong pair in the middle. Mayer's going to get all the attention, but Floriani is also good. He's bigger than Mayer. They go 6 feet, 6'2" in the middle, and they're both very strong in the air and just positionally sound and such high soccer IQs. They're the kind of guys you can leave in there, and the coaching staff can sort of worry about everybody else.
Point taken, because Max Floriani only came out of a match once last season. Played every other moment. Some space for Bynum. 3 minutes left in the half. Bynum wins his race, crosses it. Escorcia stepping on it, onto the right foot. Out wide, Bynum looking for a cross, chips it toward the back post over the head of Pino, and run down by St. Louis as Seth Anderson was able to win this one. But SMU ball.
And it's physical out there. There are bodies hitting the deck, but they're not dirty. This is just some collisions between guys who are going full speed, chasing the ball, and playing hard, but playing pretty clean.
Leatherman and Pino trading paint. Foul call goes against Pino. And for a 0-0 game so far, it's been a fun soccer match, I think.
It's been fantastic. It's been absolutely fantastic. I mean, obviously you want to see goals, but these two teams, they know each other well. Talking to both coaches, we sort of said you two know each other so well that there can't be many surprises. They both basically know what the opponent's going to do. They teach their systems well. They scout very well. And look, there's a lot of talent on this field on both sides. We got a minute and a half left in the first half, and I can't wait for the second half already.
SMU eventually wins this one. Pino changing speed, looking for Escorcia. Escorcia trying to separate, throws on the brakes. Feeds it out wide. Bynum with some space again. Bynum dribbling in onto the left foot. Escorcia gets it back. Bynum once more. Finds Escorcia. Played away, a half clearance. And chased down by SMU. Zarnik trying to reverse the field and gives it out to Pino, his left back. With a minute left in the half, SMU thinking about maybe one more opportunity to get on the board. Here's a serve in to the box. Demon can't win it in the air, and it's punched out. But SMU wins the ball once more. Pino back on it, tries to chip it inside. It is missed, and Escorcia has it from 20 yards out. Escorcia, the quick move, throws it to himself just outside the box. Throws on the brakes. Hear the calls of no foul. Escorcia looking for a winner, and it is going to be one for SMU. A corner with 20 seconds left in the half as Bailey Sparks.
I think it's a throw-in.
Throw-in, my fault.
But basically a corner.
Ruvalcaba
is about a yard off the end line.
Ruvalcaba with 10 seconds, and that last contact was made by Pope. That will end the half. And a fun one here at SMU so far in Dallas. St. Louis trying to beat the Mustangs for the first time in the last 8 matchups between the two. And the Billikens battle to a scoreless draw at the end of the first 45 minutes.
I agree with you. I think this has been a fantastic first half. Even though he may not be the fastest guy on the field, it allows him to lose defenders and, as you said, create space.
Milton Lopez starting in the striker spot for SMU in the second half. SMU in the red and St. Louis in the white. What does St. Louis have to do to get more consistent opportunities going toward SMU's goal?
Well, it looked like the Billikens played a very vertical style, a very direct style in the first half, which is what they like to do. To me, I think you have to be a little more patient and pass the ball more, switch fields side to side to try to spread out the SMU defense, because, I mean, even now you look at it and all 10 players, if you look at the width of the field, all 10 players are in about half the width of the field. And it's hard to find lanes to pass through and to run through if you allow your opponent to remain that compact. So I think the Billikens want to be able to stretch SMU out and thereby opening up more lanes to go through.
See if that's something that St. Louis can do. Here with a minute gone in the second half. No score between SMU and St. Louis. The outside back, Redmond, pops it down for Barnett, trying to turn the corner against Djordjevic. Djordjevic pulled back. No foul given. Djordjevic taking it away. And up to Bailey Sparks for a little heel kick. He thought he had somebody behind him in red, but he did not.
Yeah, he had Escorcia behind him, but I think he had Escorcia running, and Escorcia had hit the brakes.
Another foul call against St. Louis, and guess who it is hitting the ground again? It's Djordjevic once more. As you mentioned in the first half, it seems like he has been on the worst end of collisions more often than not through the first 2.5 games of this season.
Yeah, and it's nothing dirty by the Billikens. It's just a matter of Djordjevic gets stuck in a lot when the ball is on 50-50 balls. Kevin Hudson said he wants to see his team compete and win those 50-50 balls more. And Djordjevic is a guy who sets the example of how to go after them. He thinks every 50-50 ball belongs to him. And that's great when you go win those 50-50 balls, and he certainly wins his share of them. But the risk is you're going to get hit. And he has hit the deck a few times tonight. And as we said in the first half, you know, he missed almost all of last year. So that's got to make the Mustang coaches hold their breath a little bit when they see number 20 go down.
SMU will give Chance Johnson, with the wind behind him here in the second half, an opportunity to use that powerful right leg. Johnson almost down to the 18. The header won by St. Louis, but I think a St. Louis player took one in the midsection there and is still down. And that is going to be Seth Anderson still writhing around. And as SMU had attained possession, Anderson, who got stepped on in the first half, able to get back up to his feet.
And I believe that was friendly fire that took down Anderson. One of his teammates, it may have been Barnett, trying to clear the ball, just slammed it right into his gut, probably knocked the wind out of him. And also, you mentioned Seth Anderson getting stepped on in the first half. We talked about how he was looking at his right wrist. Well, that wrist is now pretty heavily taped.
Anderson, thankfully, able to stay in this match. This ball gets played down, but sent away by Zarnik, who missed Pino on the near side. Rare miss by SMU in possession, and St. Louis gets a chance on the throw-in. Here's Max Floriani, the returning starter at center back. Back for Joey Mayer. Taken number 30 overall by Toronto FC in the MLS Super Draft, but elected to go back to school and transfer. Oh, a nice ball out to Kieran Pino, coming in left side. Pino looking to cut back onto his right foot, now his left, the serve across, the one-timer knocked down, the secondary shot is in for Jalen Mitchell, and SMU goes up 1-0, and Mitchell immediately points back to Kieran Pino, says, welcome back, big guy.
Exactly. Mitchell gets the goal. Pino made that play happen. Long run, crossover dribble, lost a defender, allowed him to get a couple of steps of space. And here you see him cross up the defender, and then now he was almost tackled from behind. The first shot by Sparks doesn't go. And then Jalen Mitchell there for the rebound and gets a hard hug from Big Bailey Sparks. Right place, right time for Jalen Mitchell.
The question for SMU has been, who are the goals going to come from? Jalen Mitchell, who was a preseason freshman All-American last year by Top Drawer Soccer before scoring 1 goal in 19 appearances. That's his 2nd career tally, opens his account in 2024, and SMU goes up 1-0 on the number 6 Billikens. And what a start to the second half for the Mustangs.
And now think about what this does on the St. Louis bench. They talked at halftime about playing a first half in which they only mustered 1 shot. You knew that you needed more shots in the second half anyway, but now you're trailing by a goal. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, we're very early. We're only 3.5 minutes into the second half. But if this score holds for a little while, it'll be interesting to see what adjustments the Billikens make to try to create more chances in the offensive end.
SMU head coach Kevin Hudson really challenging his team in training this week. Didn't feel like they were competitive enough against ORU, and they've risen to that occasion. Now they've been rewarded with a goal and still continue to be the more active team as Thiago Lopez steps in to pick up the foul.
Referee Michael Laverne blows the whistle as Bailey Sparks was off to the races, and Sparks looked back at him as if to say, if there's a time to have a no call because playing the advantage, that was it. And Laverne looked at him and had a little smile on his face, and obviously we can't tell from here what was said, but I wonder if he may have said something like, yeah, you're right, I probably should have let that one go.
But it is kind of like a toddler saying, I can do it myself. But Bailey Sparks was right. The toddler was right in this case.
Yeah, I mean, he had room to run. He had a lot of real estate in front of him to create a chance in the offensive third.
Scorsia, and again, it's a foul called against Lopez, who was not expecting the 5-5 as Scorsia to cut back like that on the ball.
Exactly, and to point out his height is absolutely the right thing. If Escorcia is 6'2", that foul is not called. But as he turned and dipped his head a little bit, he took a forearm right to the forehead. There was no way to not call it.
5 minutes gone in the second half. SMU has the opener, and can St. Louis get the equalizer? A takeaway in an advantageous position. Out to the wing, Leatherman, the quick one touch into the box, settled down by Roble and then cleared away by SMU, and then Pino keeps it from going out. That was a dangerous ball. That is the 3rd on Lopez, and after the stoppage, I think that our referee, Michael Laverne, has seen enough. Lopez has now picked up a yellow card.
Yeah, it was nice hustle by Pino to keep the ball inbounds right in front of the SMU bench, and as he turned upfield, Lopez turned to run with him, but then also leaned a heavy shoulder into him, and Pino hit the deck, drawing that yellow on Lopez.
Kieran Pino missing the first 2 games for SMU. SMU head coach Kevin Hudson said, probably play him about 25 minutes in the first half. Want to get him out there for the whole second half. Well, he played all 45 in the first half. And we'll see what that means for Pino going forward. But the competitor that he is, he'd like to stay out there.
Nice knockout out of the back by Pope as Roble had a fistful of Pope's jersey and was giving him a really good tug to knock him off balance, and it didn't matter.
They're going to give this one to Max Floriani. He and Milton Lopez were going back-to-back like they were trying to do that team climbing of a wall or something like that. I guess this is going on Lopez, excuse me. But it goes on Lopez, and Floriani will have the restart for St. Louis. More grinding than a prom in 1999, right, Steve? That's what you were telling me earlier.
What?
38 minutes left in this matchup. And Steve keeps pointing out to the northeast side of the field where in the distance there is some lightning, but I have looked at it. It's out in like Sulphur Springs. That's 100 miles away. I think we're going to be okay.
All right. I think the rule is if it's within 8 miles, that's when it becomes an issue with the game being played, but I didn't realize it was anywhere near that far away.
Been some storms in the area today. It hasn't rained here in Dallas proper, really. Expecting a stormy weekend, perhaps. Sunday evening, as of now, looks fairly dry, but Saturday could give some water to this pitch that's been overworked early this season by both the men's and women's teams here in Dallas.
It sure has, and when you consider the amount of mileage that's been put in on this field, and of course both teams also train on this field, it's held up well. The grounds crew at SMU has done a terrific job with it.
SMU playing the vertical game. Lopez challenging Floriani, who calmly turns away from it. And the Gatorade Player of the Year in Illinois in 2020 turns it upfield. Scorsia goes through the back of Anderson and commits the foul.
You described Floriani as playing it calmly, and to me, that's what you want in a center back, someone who is not flustered by absolutely anything. It doesn't matter whether his team is winning or losing or tied, or it's the first 5 minutes or the last 5 minutes of the game. He plays every ball the same. He's so smooth, so polished, and he's just an absolute force in the back end for the Billikens.
And to put him next to a guy that started 83 matches for Indiana and was a part of 40 clean sheets as Luis Letta goes through the sandpit. That's just an embarrassment of riches for the Billikens this season to have Floriani playing next to Mayer, I think.
It really is, and I don't know how many coaches will admit it, but I'm guessing there are some teams that will look at that lineup in the middle of the St. Louis defense and say, okay, let's attack from the wings.
Right.
Because going up the middle, there may not be a lot of room.
Think about where the SMU goal came from. It was an attack from the wing.
Absolutely.
Seth Anderson on the corner kick. Anderson, lots of air underneath this one. A solid header by Fournier, or at least a solid look, but he didn't get all of it, Steve.
Yeah, it looked like when he brought his head forward, I wonder if that ball maybe hit him below the forehead, like rolled down in the side of his face or something. You're right, he didn't quite get all of it, and Chance Johnson had plenty of time to scoop it up.
Greg Fournier out of Central Texas. Played for Austin FC. A four-star, top-drawer soccer recruit, one of the top 100 in the nation. Should have a fine freshman season for this St. Louis side. SMU will have a throw-in after that direct ball, that goal kick by Chance Johnson. That's a weapon. That's a field flipper.
It absolutely is. It's like adding an extra defender back there, and he has an absolute cannon. Your description of him in the first half as toolsy was perfect. He's big, he is quick, he has a long reach, he can jump, he can hit the ball a mile and a half. The tools are there.
Here's the big throw in by Ruvalcaba. More on a line, popped into the air. Second header, one down by SMU. Now Jalen Mitchell, who has the goal, is back on it. Looking to keep it in possession, playing against two, trying to split defenders. Knocked down and taken away by Fournier. And there's going to be a call against Mitchell with 34 minutes left in the second half. And SMU up 1-0 on the opener by Jalen Mitchell.
And again, the St. Louis defense is so poised in the back end. They just seem, it's very difficult to rattle this group. It's a veteran bunch. As you have said, they have played a ton of soccer. They're not going to see a lot of situations that they haven't experienced before.
As Seth Anderson gets knocked down again, he's had his hand hurt, his midsection hurt, and now his foot hurt. And he does pop back up. He's in an offside position right now. That's the reason the Billikens are holding. And now back into alignment with his team's attack.
I think you're right. I think Brock Pope may have come down on Seth Anderson's foot, and he's looking down at it like it's still probably a little bit tender, but Anderson may need a few bags of ice when this one's done.
Scorsia gets a lick in on Thiago Lopez. St. Louis looking for a clean opportunity, down 1-0. Nearly rolled out, but Leatherman able to keep it. And now trying to rip through defenders. Finally falls down on it. Bailey Sparks able to win it eventually for SMU and a full clearance by the Mustangs.
What a great recovery by Carlos Leatherman as he went down, lost possession of the ball, realized, hey, the whistle didn't blow. I didn't get a whistle. I didn't get a foul called against SMU. Hops up, took the ball right back from Bailey Sparks.
Sparks throws on the brakes to get around Redmond. Doesn't see anything he likes, so he's going to play it back for Djordjevic. Djordjevic trying to reverse the field. And all the way over to the left side. That's normally Pino's spot. Pino goes down. So does Leatherman. And while we wait on the call, we check on the two outside backs who have been fighting to see who's the best athlete tonight. Pino having a little trouble with cramping, perhaps.
Those two have both been really, really good tonight.
Will be a throw in for SMU. Pino laboring to get out of the match. And he has been outstanding, creating the goal for SMU on a stop-start run up the left wing and playing the ball across. And now Pino, at least for now, will take a seat, get rehydrated, while Lamar Bynum relieves Pino for the first time tonight, or at least Pino's first time to sit down. Bynum played some of the first half for Djordjevic.
And with Bynum in, the Mustang defense will shift over to the left as Brock Pope will slide up a little bit.
It's a different feeling game for St. Louis. Against IU, it felt like there was control and that momentum on their side and the crowd behind him and all those sort of things. It's kind of a challenge to go on the road here, be down 1-0. Obviously, so far you've been outplayed. That doesn't mean a lick for the next 30 minutes. You could certainly come back and score two and win this thing. Seems like a challenge, though, as Anderson runs through the middle. Anderson pops it out left for Lotta. Lotta trying to center it in. Mitchell blocks it. Bynum runs onto it, and here come the Mustangs.
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, St. Louis has an incredible home field environment. And there's a reason every coach wants fans to come out and support a team, but to have 6,000 fans in a soccer-mad town like St. Louis, you string two passes together, you're going to get applause from the crowd. And, yeah, here you're the enemy. You're the bad guy. And so if you're the bad guy, you don't get any response from the crowd when you do something right. You're outshot badly in the first half, although it certainly feels more even in the second. And now you're down a goal. Yeah, very, very different conditions for these Billikens.
Glad you've joined us tonight. Late Night Soccer on ACC Network Extra. John Little alongside Steve Lansdale. SMU trying to find some kind of break. Leatherman's going to run this one down against Lopez. Lopez now twists Leatherman off of his feet. Leatherman takes a spill to get the foul.
Pretty crafty play there by Leatherman as he saw Lopez coming and he got a hand extended and held Lopez off. And that slowed Lopez's momentum just a tiny bit. And so Lopez tried to accelerate again, clipped Leatherman's foot, and got whistled for it.
Leatherman with experience not only at the high school level coming in, but also for Minnesota United 2 in MLS Next Pro. So he had that kind of professional experience coming into his career in St. Louis, and then started a ton in his A-10 rookie year last season.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's only a sophomore. He's only going to get better.
Oh, this is a great chance all the way through the box. It looked like St. Louis's Lawson Redmond was looking back to the middle, but instead tried to slot it past Johnson and sneak it in. That back corner didn't work out for him, but it went all the way through the mouth of the goal.
And it was on the ground, what, a foot off the goal line, 2 feet off the goal line? if anybody had made any contact with it, it was going to end up in the back of the net.
Remember, St. Louis benefited thanks to an own goal in the matchup against IU. Here's another chance. Anderson plays it out wide. Redmond runs onto it with some space. Back to Anderson. Anderson turning his way, stopping against Mitchell, and he goes down and takes a clump of dirt with him. It's like some of that sod giving way here in Dallas, which this is normally just such a perfect pitch.
Yeah, they've done a little bit of repair work at halftime of both games tonight. But again, 2 games back-to-back in 5 hours. It's going to take a little bit of a beating, but this field is so well maintained that it'll be in great condition again before Sunday's games tee it up.
Foul on Bynum. And a stoppage called.
I think that was just a stoppage for delay as the ball was kicked way back out of play.
Making sure the clock didn't run unnecessarily with SMU up 1-0. A lot of space here on the restart. A low liner knocked over the end line by Bynum. Another corner kick coming for the Billikens. Imagine Anderson will tee it up once more for St. Louis out of the far corner.
And the field has definitely leveled a little bit in the second half. In the first half, it was very lopsided. SMU was given about 62% of the possession, outshot the Billikens 11-1 before the intermission. And yes, the Ponies have gotten on the scoreboard in the second half, but it definitely feels more even, both teams having chances in the second half.
Anderson serves it across that line drive. The header's won by SMU and tracked down by Leatherman to keep it in Billikens' possession out to the keeper, Abenel, who gave up his first goal of the season. Remember, Abenel has only lost once in his career with St. Louis. 7-1-4 coming in, including a 6-1-4 mark last season. A goals against average under 1 and 4 shutouts last year. And that shutout of IU to open up this season.
You hear coaches talk about wanting to get traffic in front of the opposing goalkeeper, try to obstruct the goalie's view, maybe get a deflection, a rebound, something like that. On that last corner kick by Anderson, Leatherman, and Abenel were the only players on either team not inside the 18-yard penalty box. There were 19 guys in the box just creating chaos in front of the SMU goal.
Free kick coming for St. Louis. Into the mixer. It's on the ground. On the backside, Barnett, or rather Lopez, tracks it down and earns another corner for St. Louis. Here, trying to nip at the heels of SMU and pick up the equalizer in Dallas.
Obviously, you'd rather give up corners than shots on goal, but you give up too many, it gets pretty dicey. Corners, as we've said many times, that is a statistic that coaches look at to get a gauge for how much time was spent in front of one goal or the other. And as the Billikens pile up these corners, that means the ball is going in front of Chance Johnson in the SMU goal.
Out of this near corner, Lawson Redmond will play it with the inside of his left foot. Oh, microphone down. Redmond serves it. Good ball, but Chance Johnson at 6'4" sees over everyone and takes it in.
Yeah, he's 6'4". Matt Roble is 6'3" and was coming crashing in there. And yes, Johnson is an inch taller, but obviously also has the benefit of being able to extend his arms.
Lopez takes down Escorcia, and it is a play on for St. Louis. After that hard takedown, Lopez making contact with the ball before Escorcia hit the deck.
And then Rubalcaba did the exact same thing with a strong shoulder charge. It is a physical game. It's not a dirty game, but it is a physical game, as we see now Bailey Sparks hitting the deck.
And again, the whistle is swallowed. Good play, the backside here. A chance for St. Louis, cleared away by SMU once more. Michael Laverne not wanting to reward either side for taking dives, even as dramatic as they may look, with hair flailing and head going over heels and vice versa.
Now Joey Mayer banging his shoulder into Milton Lopez up front a couple times when the ball is about 40 yards away. We'll see if that wrestling match continues.
Little roll off the backside here as Floriani tries to get things started. Lopez at that holding mid spot. Escorcia creeping in. Feeds it out to Redmond. St. Louis feels like their fire starter on offense, the player that can be an elite attacker, is number 11, Lada. And Lada's just been pretty silent in this match.
Yeah, but he's one of those guys who's so gifted as a playmaker that if you're the opposing team, you're not comfortable with his silence until there are zeros on that clock.
Oh, a long ball in the direction of Mitchell, trying to run onto it.
And the Mustangs are furious, saying that Lawson Redmond played it back to his own goalkeeper, who then picked it up. They're saying that should have been a handball in the box.
Can you imagine? Ball for Barnett. He had to hold up, and he was cut off. And eventually, foul going against SMU here. And in the process, Milton Lopez, who has been fighting through an illness tonight, to make the start at the striker position, he comes out and Chris Demon is on.
Yeah, he's been fighting an illness, but he's also been fighting with Max Floriani, who the two of them have been wrestling pretty much the whole second half, and for much of the first half. It's been a very physical exchange between those big St. Louis defenders and the Mustang strikers.
Richard Garcia also comes on and replaces Jalen Mitchell, and when that happens, Bailey Sparks shifts into more of an offensive mode in the midfield spot. So we'll see what that means for SMU the rest of the way with 22.5 minutes left. All it takes is a moment for St. Louis to get back in this thing. However, it's taken away by SMU. These long strides up that sideline for Alex Salvo, making one of his first long possessions of the game. Salvo, really nice take and earning a throw-in.
Nice 80-yard run up the touchline. I mean, that's one way to advance it, but he's going to run out of gas.
And it seems as though the officials might be a little bit tired watching them. Now, just a stoppage as the reset's taking a little bit too long for the officials' liking. Jalen Mitchell opening up the scoring, 4th minute of the second half. There's a throw in by Cesar Ruvalcaba. The wind behind him and toward the goal. Ruvalcaba to the 6. It's on the ground. Demon scrambling after it. Not quite there. Wow.
Really nice job by the St. Louis defense. I believe it was Lopez who went up next to Ruvalcaba. And as they were in the air, there was just enough momentum. Ruvalcaba, I believe, was in position to get his head on the ball, but the momentum of the defender marking him just helped drift him a tiny bit out of range, and he wasn't able to connect with it.
SMU trying to respond after a disappointing tie, a draw at the hands of ORU last time out on Sunday. Meanwhile, St. Louis coming off of a season-starting win over Indiana. At that time, the number 7 team in the country. Here's Leatherman on the backside of this play, and another corner coming for St. Louis as Leatherman knocks it off of Niko Djordjevic.
And I think that's exactly what Leatherman was trying to do. I don't think he had his eye on one of his teammates in the middle of the field. I think he saw number 20 closing quickly on him and realized that he would be pinched into an awkward position up against the end line. I think he was aiming at Djordjevic to try to get that corner, and if that's what he was trying to do, That was beautifully executed.
St. Louis leading in corners 6-4 now. And another chance for Redmond. Redmond to the back post. Header is won by Pope. Back in by Leatherman. And pounced out across midfield by Pope again. I think SMU has been pretty good on restarts defensively in this one. They've done a nice job against these corner kicks and free kicks by St. Louis.
They have, but they've given too many of them. They've got to give up fewer corners. It's just a dangerous chance to keep giving corners to a team as talented as St. Louis. And you're right, they have been organized and they've cleared them out perfectly so far, right? They're throwing a shutout with 20 minutes left. But I think if you ask Kevin Hudson and his staff, he'd be plenty happy if there weren't any more.
Johnson didn't get all of this punt, but after 2 headers, Georgievich able to play it up the wing. And SMU getting back into possession. They've had a tougher time in the second half, really building out of the back than they did in the first half. It seemed like St. Louis was under assault repeatedly in the first half, 11-1 shot advantage, obviously. In the second half, not as much. Maybe St. Louis playing on the front foot just a little bit more in the second half, or what do you think's happening?
Yeah, I think when, I mean, as you said, SMU sort of came at them in waves in the first half, and it looked like the Billikens were sort of saying, all right, we're going to absorb your best punch, like prize fighters that you talk about. And they did, and they gave up an 11-1 margin in shots, but they went to the locker room all scoreless. And so, fine, you want to tweak some things, but you survived that. And in the second half, it didn't feel like survival. They were playing forward more. They were stringing together more passes rather than just launching long balls up through the SMU defense. And by doing so, they were able to get more bodies up there with the ball, thereby creating chances that have led to some of these corners as well.
A hydration break in Dallas with just under 19 to go. SMU clinging to a 1-goal advantage over the number 6 team in the country on the ACC network.
This summer, it's time to get away with super hot deals on your favorite Hyundai models. All backed by America's best warranty. Plus 3 years or 36,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. Add more joy to your journey at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. But act fast because these deals will be over before you know it. Get in and get away now. Lease an Elantra for $169 a month or get 1.99% APR for 60 months or up to $1,000 bonus cash. Hurry in.
All right, Tina, 6 is hard to beat.
Not for us.
Okay, not soccer, but
Football.
Yes. We honeymooned here.
Mallorca.
Yes. Pass.
No, we don't pass, Tina. Come on, baby.
They help give you more.
A tax professional.
And they have a 97% satisfaction rating.
Salami.
You could have done it in a British accent.
That's helpful, Randy.
For savings and service, get more with Geico.
Along with Steve Lansdale, I'm John Little. Welcome back into Dallas. St. Louis down 1-0 to the SMU Mustangs. St. Louis grabbing the number 6 ranking in the country thanks to their 1-0 victory, or rather 2-0 victory in the season opener over Indiana. SMU coming in 1-0-1 after a season opening 1-0 win over Air Force, and then ORU tied SMU here at Washburn Soccer and Track Stadium on Sunday, 1-1. Now SMU has this narrow lead and looking for their first big win of the season. And Draven Barnett ready to throw it in for St. Louis with just under 19 minutes remaining in regulation here. And SMU up 1-0. St. Louis lets the ball come through to Leatherman. And now this drive is banged off of SMU's Bynum and out to the corner where Seth Anderson will have another corner kick. It'll be the 7th corner kick by St. Louis in this game. Still, with the 7 corner kicks, the Billikens have only managed 2 shots officially and 1 on goal. SMU still out shooting St. Louis 13-2. Only 2 shots in the second half for SMU.
That margin's a little surprising, and it's partly because the field has tilted more in St. Louis's favor, probably leveling out a little bit in the second half. But to your point, there's a difference between a corner kick and a shot. They've had the ball in the offensive third and been banging it around in the box, but they haven't got a lot of shots away.
Here's a Bailey Sparks run. Sees Jalen Mitchell in the middle, and as he tries to center it, or rather than Mitchell in the middle, excuse me, it was Demon. But in any event, after the centering feed, SMU will get a corner of their own.
A nice job by Bailey Sparks. He saw Demon in the middle, but he also saw 3 or 4 white shirts around Demon. It would have been very, very difficult to connect that pass. And, you know, honestly, he may have been doing the same thing that Leatherwood looked like he was doing at the opposite end, trying to bang the ball off an opponent and out of bounds to create a corner kick.
Sparks corner, sharply hit to the back post, but foul coming against SMU here.
Got a second ball on the field. The other one rolled into the goal, so Avenel's going to have to get rid of that.
Under 17 to play. 1-0 the advantage for SMU on the number 6 team in the country. Now Leatherman for St. Louis. Maneuvering it inside. SMU defensively has it pinned in. Trying to take St. Louis and use that sideline as an extra defender. And SMU breaks out with the ball. Escorcia trying to twirl through defenders. And it gets all the way through to the keeper, Avenel. He's only let 1 shot through, and it was one he had no chance on. Early in the second half, Jalen Mitchell pounding one in off a rebound.
Drake Fournier a little bit slow getting up after that collision with Escorcia and was stretching out his foot and lower leg, suggesting maybe a cramp, but he's up on his feet and he's running again. So for St. Louis, you're glad to see number 19 staying in the game.
Kieran Pino back for SMU in this game, playing a huge role early. And then early in the second half, centering that feed that eventually ended up in the goal. Leatherman on the left side, goes into the box. Almost a look at a bicycle for St. Louis. And SMU will have a throw in after the play that came all the way through the box. That was Braden Sellers, the freshman midfielder who thought about trying to turn on it for a bike.
You mentioned Kieran Pino with 15 minutes left. He is sitting on a chair off to the end of the bench, and you have to think that if he's up to it, we have not seen the last of number 7.
Yeah, Pino did not look like the knock that kept him out of the first 2 games is what is keeping him out now. He came up with cramps and had to come out of the match. And you would think that is a player that SMU would love to have in there for the stretch run if he is fit enough to do so. But he played the entirety of the first 45 minutes and all the way up until he had to be lifted from this match. Under 15 to play. It's knocked down by Bynum, but the ball finds Fournier. Play to the backside. Leatherman against Sparks. Really good matchup. And this one is eventually won by St. Louis. They'll get a corner kick out of it.
And Bailey Sparks is in disbelief. He thinks that Carlos Leatherman absolutely ran him over from behind. And he sat up and he looked at Michael Laverne, the referee, with his hands up in the air as if to say, are you kidding me?
Here's Sellers. Great attack ability and pride for his hometown. The freshman on the serve. Great height on it. It gets knocked down in the box, but played out. Joey Mayer got at least a piece of it from his center back position, advancing on that corner kick. Now St. Louis's Abenel sends it back in toward the mixer. SMU is going to run onto it once again. It's Rubalcaba dumping it down to Djordjevic.
And we've talked about Chance Johnson and how strong his leg is. Abenel played that almost at midfield. You see that when you're down a goal with a minute left, you bring your goalkeeper up and have an 11-man attack. But with 13 minutes left, you don't see that often at all.
Looked like Djordjevic really wanted a foul call as he was trying to run through defenders to keep his run going up the wing. He thought he was prevented from doing so. That's not how our center referee, Michael Laverne, saw it. Djordjevic pops it up the field, eyes on Demon, but he's not home. 1-0 SMU on a Jalen Mitchell goal. 4 minutes into the second half. No other scoring. SMU on top in shots, 13-2 in this one. But all it takes is one to get us level. Here come the Billikens. Again, here's Leatherman chipping it in and wide for an SMU goal kick.
I thought he played that one off of Lamar Bynum, but I think he had just crossed the end line when he hit it. Setting up the goal kick for, I guess it won't be Chance. Oh, it will be Chance, okay. Cesar Rubalcaba was just putting the ball down.
Not much of a argument from Leatherman on the play. Evidently, he thought the right call was made. 12 minutes to go. Precious seconds winding down in Dallas. It's number 6 St. Louis tries to remain unbeaten, but the SMU Mustangs have had this great Billikens side's number over the last few years with a 4-0-3 mark against St. Louis over the last 7 times they've played. But St. Louis advancing. Seth Anderson playing it back for Leatherman. Throw in coming for St. Louis.
You know, we often call a game and we look at the subplots with different little matchups, and it seems like most of them have involved Carlos Leatherman. He's been tangled up with Bailey Sparks a bunch of times. He was tangled up with Kieran Pino a bunch of times. Carlos Leatherman is everywhere for this St. Louis team.
He's going to be central in their attack all season, and on a little bit of a humid night, although it's been cooler. Obviously, Bailey Sparks needs a second. The SMU captain would love to go the whole 90. A little bit frustrated by that right calf as SMU prepares to bring in one of their defensive closers in Enzo Pinozo.
Bailey Sparks was fully intending to turn upfield, and as he turned, he just went straight down. You see Becky Riegel, the fine athletic trainer at SMU, coming out to check on the Mustangs' standout midfielder. If she's got a magic wand in there and can get that calf working again, you know that Kevin Hudson would love to see number 10 back in the lineup as quickly as possible. But Sparks went down, and when he grabbed his calf, he looked like he was really feeling it.
Pinozo ready to check in. Normally he would do so for one of the more attacking type midfielders and play an extra holding mid spot for SMU. We'll see what the Mustangs decide to do with under 11 minutes left to play and trying to hold off St. Louis team that would not love nothing more than to get a draw here at this point. And Sparks try to walk off this cramp of that right calf.
He looked like he was going to try to break into a slow jog there for a moment, and then after about 2 steps of that, he went back to walking. So, and you can see the grimace on his face as he's walking off the field. And if he can't return, that is an enormous loss. I know we're just under 11 minutes left, but just under 11 minutes without your best midfielder can seem like an eternity.
SMU also missing in the midfield Neve Berkovitz right now, who's more of an attacking-minded midfielder, but he was the AAC Rookie of the Year last season, and he has yet to play this year. Same story with Frederick Skilberg, who is an attacking wing-type midfielder that SMU would love to see back as well, who is not fit to go as of yet. 11 minutes left to go. Sparks on the bench. Pino on the bench for SMU. And St. Louis trying to find that magic moment to tie the game in Dallas. Here's Floriani finding Barnett. Stopping on it and dumping it back for Townsend. And Pinozo able to run onto it. And there you get a chance to see the difference between a Bailey Sparks and an Enzo Pinozo. Nothing against Pinozo whatsoever, but Sparks so fine and so strong on the ball.
Yeah, and he's sort of a magician on the ball in that, like, Pinozo got there, intercepted the pass, did his job. Sparks is the kind of guy who can then turn the corner around a couple of different opponents and find a teammate. Pinozo may do that the next time, but he wasn't able to do it that time. And look, Pinozo's going to go like his hair's on fire for the next 10 minutes if he stays in the whole time. And he is a very aggressive, very solid defender. But there's a reason Bailey Sparks is on the Herman Trophy watch list.
But Pinozo winning a ball in the air, doing his job there. This ball about 25 yards out. Djordjevic winning this one. And now a foul, another one coming against Grady Easton, the former SMU Mustang, who picked up a yellow card in the first half as he held up Brock Pope. The clock ticks down on St. Louis. And Grady Easton, who played 7 games for the Mustangs back in the 2021 season. He's out of the Houston area, growing up in the Woodlands. Chance Johnson coming out of the goal to make this offering. Johnson looking for his second clean sheet. Pops it down. Pinozo trying to win it in the air. Can't quite do it. Ball ends up across midfield. And advancing forward, St. Louis. Really nice play by Pope to keep it out of the feet of Braden Sellers, who was trying to continue that run down the right side.
And I think Pope thought the ball glanced off of Sellers on the way out of bounds, because the way he hopped up initially, he started to turn back upfield, and then he saw the linesman pointing in St. Louis's favor and got on his horse to get back in possession, in defensive position.
Townsend trying to thread the needle, but denied by Enzo Pinozo. Some contact with no call. Billikens back in possession. Leatherman down toward the end line. It's centered in front, and that centering feed by Anderson is denied. He had his eyes on Braden Sellers. 8 minutes left. Not many shots on goal for the Billikens, but a lot more possession in the second half. Sellers dispossessed. Danny Escorcia has it taken away by Draven Barnett, and Escorcia nipping back. He's going to pick up a card. A yellow for the second straight game on Danny Escorcia.
And Escorcia slammed his hand into the ground, looked very upset, and for a minute I thought he was arguing whether it was a whistle, whether it should have been a whistle or not. Kind of feels now like maybe he was upset at himself for arriving late and drawing the card.
Perhaps. Escorcia's first year at the Division I level after 2 outstanding seasons for Dallas College Richland campus here in DFW. Here's the restart for the Billikens, and since coming in, Braden Sellers has taken a couple of these. Seth Anderson would be the left-footed server, but looks like Sellers, the freshman, will take it. Big moment for St. Louis. Curling back, solid header right on goal, and Johnson gobbles it in. But a good opportunity by Floriani.
This is where that size comes in. At 6'2", Floriani gets up. Both teams have big defenders, and both teams bring them forward as targets on set pieces. SMU does it with Rubalcaba and Pope and Zarnik. St. Louis does it with Mayer, with Floriani. You get your best guys in the air. It doesn't matter where they normally play, especially when you're down a goal. you put all your big targets up front.
Floriani looking for that magical goal. It would have been the second of his career, but Johnson had it played well, knowing as the serve came in where that header was probably going to go if solid contact was made. Meanwhile, a foul on St. Louis. We start for SMU with 5.5 left.
And
Brock
you have
Pope to take this one.
And you have Pope taking this because, remember, the two guys who normally take free kicks, Kieran Pino and Bailey Sparks, are both out of the lineup at the moment.
Djordjevic going down. No call. Oh, but a misplay by Braden Sellers, who looks to the heavens. A throw in for SMU. After St. Louis makes their substitution, a tired Matthew Roble, who has been going hard all game at that forward spot, is lifted in favor of Andrew Heckenleibel, the freshman.
I wouldn't be surprised if Roble comes back with a couple minutes left to try to give it one final push. He is just an absolute force up front.
Roble, who had the game-winning goal in Game 1 against Indiana. SMU with some possession. 5.5 left. Long ball in the area of Escorcia. Comes down to Salvo. Djordjevic not looking to attack. Just trying to figure out a way to bleed some clock, and so is Escorcia. Escorcia does his best work in a phone booth. And that's going to be a goal kick for St. Louis.
You know, it's one thing to do your work in traffic, but he was pinned into the corner, and he looked like he was more than happy to hang out there for the next 5 minutes. But got muscled off the ball, and the ball was played off of him.
Only 2 shots make it 3 now for St. Louis. Long ball served in, and nobody really home. Johnson will take it to the ground and waste some precious moments with his team up by the 1-goal margin thanks to the Jalen Mitchell goal off of a rebound early on in the second half. Long one here, Demon trying to run it down, and this one's centered out in front. Djordjevic trying to knock it down, and Pope running on it. SMU will keep, and after the aggressive play by Easton and also another player in there for St. Louis in Lotta, SMU will have the free kick. 4 minutes left.
And the Billikens are saying that SMU is getting into a little gamesmanship and slow playing with 4 minutes left, but Lotta is standing right in front of the ball for about 30 seconds there. You could pin that on him as much as you could on the Mustangs trying to run out the clock.
Demon takes it to the corner. Sellers turns it upfield, but Pope intercepts. Escorcia trying to keep it in to no avail with 3.5 to go. Time for a couple more opportunities for the Billikens, but SMU is trying to frustrate St. Louis into their first loss of the season after that huge win over Indiana to start the year. Little space for St. Louis. SMU packs it in tight in the area. And that centering feed is denied by Enzo Pinozzo. The kind of dirty work he does when he plays these closing moments for SMU.
And this is what he has done. Last year, he came in to a lot of games in the final moments when the Mustangs needed to kill off a game with a 1 or 2 goal lead. Pinozzo is that guy who comes off the bench and just wears out opponents. He's not going to have his name all over the stat sheet, but he has become a really valuable part of this team, and his story is great. We've talked about it before. He basically was told, you're the longest of long shots to even make the team, and he said, that's okay, I want to come try out anyway, and he did, and it turned into spring, and it turned into preseason camp, and lo and behold, it turned into a position on the roster, and now he plays critical minutes.
And he just made another critical play for SMU, clearing that free kick out of the area. Some contact in the box. You can see where St. Louis absolutely feels it should have been a call. Politicking, pleading with the referee, Michael Laverne, who will not give an inch as SMU is 2 minutes away from their first ranked win of the year.
Joey Mayer has been chasing Michael Laverne around trying to demand a replay. But the more time he spends lobbying for that, the less time he spends trying to get the ball back for the Billikens with 90 seconds left.
Leatherman up the middle, not clean. Way out into space with 1:15 left here in Dallas. Both coaches said this would be a great test in the early season, an even matchup. SMU trying to hold off St. Louis, a little flick on, and Anderson with that final touch, not able to get it past Chance Johnson. 47 seconds remaining.
We talked in the first half about how these two teams have played seemingly forever, and it seemingly is always a great game. I know the stat sheet is going to say that it was lopsided in SMU's favor in terms of the number of shots, but this has been an outstanding game, very well played by both sides. And if this score holds for another 20 seconds, this kind of victory for SMU could do the same kind of, give the same kind of boost to the Mustangs that the victory over Indiana did for the Billikens.
They know with this final throw-in that it's elementary now. The SMU Mustangs, after a disappointing draw against the Golden Eagles of ORU, knock off number 6 St. Louis. 1-0 the final, and Kevin Hudson's team